This is hashtag history episode 141. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
Do you think we remember how to do this?
I don't.
I don't.
I was just going to say, this feels weird.
It already feels weird. This thing in front of me, I guess, is a microphone. I speak into it, right? This thing is a computer. I look at it for my script. It's been so long since we last recorded.
Even longer for me, because at least you did those hasty history episodes. For me, it's literally been like 6 months.
I counted out how long it's been. It has been 9 months, which is the length of time for one of us to have another baby.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which we will not be doing that. But
no, thank you.
If you have not yet tuned into the bonus update episode that we released a few days ago, be sure to do that so you can catch up on all the happenings that have been going on since our last joint episodes. The TLDR is that Leah had a baby. So yay, since she has been understandably busy, having been through the newborn season myself in recent history. I am more than familiar with the days of not even brushing your teeth until 2 p.m.
One of my favorite memes that I've seen is there's a scene from The Walking Dead where the main character, Rick, just like splashes water on his face and just starts walking away. And it says, this is skincare routine since having a baby. And I was
100%. Do you know, this is what I would say about having kids is like, it forever changes your life. Mm-hmm. And initially, it's like, oh my God, it completely changed my life. I will never be able to brush my teeth again. I'll never have a skincare routine again. And while part of that is true, that it did forever change your life, I have found just look at me with my year and a half worth of experience, is like, yeah, it totally changed things. But like now I have figured out how to fit things in windows and pockets that it didn't used to fit in. So my skincare routine, I finally have one again. It was like, for almost a year, I didn't have one. Mm-hmm. When I do my skincare is when my girls are in the bathtub. So I'm right next to them. I'm watching them in the tub while I'm washing my face and whatever.
Oh,
so I get to do
smart.
A full 10-step skincare routine, but it is not how I ever would have envisioned it a year plus ago, right? It's like, that is just what I am learning of parenthood is like you can sometimes, not always, sometimes still find windows to do these things for yourself, but it's definitely not in the fashion that you thought you would.
Yeah. I think what, if anything, it has taught me is how much TV I used to watch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. When you look on Netflix now, you're like behind on 100 different series.
Yeah. And I have the benefit of like sometimes while I'm breastfeeding her, I can watch, 20 minutes of a Netflix show. Mm-hmm. But like otherwise, like when Nico and I try to watch a show together, it takes us literally 2 days to watch a 30-minute episode.
And you know what? And I would say too, not to be a Debbie Downer, but again, it was like up until almost the year mark where we could actually watch a show fully together again, because in those early days, there's like barely any naps happening. If the naps are happening, they're 30 minutes long. That's why you can't watch anything. And then the next stage that you're about to head into is like moving around and pulling her off of furniture and blah, blah. So you, again, don't have the time. And then for us, it was after like the year mark is when the sleep started getting better. And that's when, they're down by 7 p.m. most nights. And then we have a couple hours to watch whatever. And it's only been in these last couple of months that we've actually finally started watching shows again.
Yeah.
I know. But all that is to say, it is definitely an adjustment period. I'm glad that you've had some time to adjust as much as one can over the last several months. But I am also super happy to be back in the recording studio with you.
Yeah,
I really missed it.
I missed it. I missed you.
Yeah.
And honestly, I missed, like, I kind of took a step back from like even looking at Instagram for the podcast and everything too. So I missed interacting with folks on there.
And I would say too, like I miss the community, and while the community is still there isn't as much interaction when there isn't like an active season going on, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That is definitely a part of the excitement of returning, is hearing from you all more on a more regular basis, putting out new content and just interacting and getting to be together again.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
There are more updates that we shared in our bonus episode. So again, be sure to check that out so that you know not only what has been up with us the last handful of months, but also so that you know about what to expect from the season ahead, as we've made some small changes to our release schedule to accommodate the fact that we've added 3 babies to our lives in the last year.
Oh my God.
But now on to the episode. So as Leah was on her hashtag history maternity leave, which, sorry, we offer zero benefits or financial assistance, much like the U.S. government.
Yeah, I'm used to it. It's fine.
Okay, it's fine. Listeners of the podcast might recall that I did do a series of hasty history episodes where it was just me behind the mic sharing some short but interesting and sometimes harrowing stories from history. One such story that I really wanted to cover during that hasty history series was the Collyer Brothers. I mentioned that to my husband, Alex, who is not only familiar with the story, but is the one that recommended we cover it. And when I told him that I was about to cover it for a hasty history episode, he said, and I quote, "Absolutely not. This has to be a regular hashtag history episode because this topic needs Leah's live reactions."
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I was like, my husband is never wrong, and I am confident that this will be another example of that because as I was putting together this episode, he is totally right. I could not adequately tell the story without talking about it with you.
Okay.
So with that, let's finally dive into it. This week, we will be discussing the Collyer brothers. Homer and Langley Collyer were two brothers living a rather interesting life in Harlem, New York City in the early 1900s. You see, they were the OG hoarders. And when I tell you they were hoarders, I do mean that they were hoarders. We will be looking through several pictures in this week's episode.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you here because he's so right that like this would have been a very boring hasty history episode to not look at these pictures together. It is safe to say that you all are going to be a bit alarmed by what you will be seeing. Not only were they hoarders, but they also set up traps throughout their house to like crush any potential intruders. They were really paranoid about people coming in and stealing their goods, which again, when you see these pictures, you will see that booby traps were not exactly necessary to crush a potential intruder, given the state of this house. But I digress. We're not just talking about these brothers today because they lived an interesting and disgusting lifestyle, though that is certainly a highlight of the story. No, the primary reason we are talking about them is because in March of 1947, they would both go missing under exceptionally mysterious and confusing circumstances. See, on March 21st, 1947, an anonymous caller would reach out to the local police complaining that they smelled what they believed to be decomposition of a body coming from the Collyer home. When the police arrived, they struggled for 5 hours to get inside the building and find the source of the smell. But once they did, they would realize that it was coming from the body of the older brother, Homer. Based on the condition of his body, it looked as though he had been dead for less than a day at this point. His brother Langley, on the other hand, was nowhere to be found. It was quickly assumed that Langley was actually the killer, that he had called the police anonymously and was now on the run. This speculation was supported by eyewitness accounts that stated that they had spotted Langley getting on a bus and heading out of town right around the time the smell started emanating from the home. As the younger brother, Langley had long supported and cared for Homer, who was not only blind, but was also paralyzed at times as a result of his rheumatism. While most people never saw Homer outside his house, it wasn't uncommon to see Langley out and about from time to time, interacting with other people, or even just going on long walks after midnight by himself. Was it possible that Langley had grown fed up with the secluded hoarder lifestyle that he was forced to live as he cared for his older brother? Had he grown so fed up with this lifestyle, he had killed his own brother and run away?
Suspicious.
Yeah. This is a story we'll be diving into this week, and I can guarantee that the answer is not the one you're likely expecting.
Ooh.
But as always, we have something else that we need to dive into first. You all know this is now where we partake in a cocktail themed to this week's episode, and I think for our listeners, we need to provide some context.
Yes.
In the last 2 years, 600 plus days, I think that you and I have had maybe 1 to 2 alcoholic beverages together.
Yeah. And some of, even in past episodes while we were recording, like there was a point in time where you hadn't announced you were pregnant yet, but we were totally faking that you were drinking alcohol.
Exactly. And I think you had announced, right? But there was a whole nother season before we started the next season, a whole nother season of mocktails. And the point is, between being pregnant with a total of 3 babies and then breastfeeding said babies for a combined 1.5 years and still counting, big props to Leah, partaking in a cocktail has not exactly been something that we've been able to do of late.
Yeah.
So when I say this cocktail segment was a bit of a moment,
we're going to cry.
I really do mean it. We might cry. So let's hurry up and get into it.
All right.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
Okay, so before we get into this cocktail, let's get into the fact that your sister, Samantha, sponsored every single cocktail for the entire season.
For the entire season.
She is beyond sweet and wonderful. I didn't realize she was such a fan of the podcast.
I'm so grateful to Samantha for sponsoring the podcast, and she was really cute. She didn't realize that I would be able to decipher or know who it was that had sent all the money for this whole season. And so when I text her right away, I was like, oh my God, you did not have to do that. She's like, what do you mean?
What are you talking about?
Thank you, Samantha. Yeah. And we will thank you for the next 9 episodes as well.
Just get used to hearing that name. Thanks, Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks, Samantha.
Now, for this week's cocktail, I had initially thought about doing a cocktail called the Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Because of the Collyer Brothers' ties to that location.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like you to just as quickly as you can, look up the ingredients for that cocktail, at least the version that I found. Hopefully you can find the same one. And I'll just give you a guess as to why I didn't choose it.
I'm going to guess vermouth is somewhere in there. Okay, hold on. Fifth Avenue cocktail ingredients. Here we go. Oh, God.
Hopefully you're looking at the same one as me.
Gin.
Yep.
Yuck. Vermouth. Yuck.
Yep.
Campari.
It's our three, literally our three. I mean, I don't mind gin, but the worst ingredients.
It's as if, and I don't mean to be cocky here or anything, and to assume that we were in mind when the Fifth Avenue cocktail was created.
Right.
But in the case that we were, this was literally making fun of us cocktail. Well, thank you for not choosing that, especially as not only in our first drink back on the podcast together, but I would say our first official drink together again.
Yeah.
In 2 years. Thank you for not picking one that would make us vomit.
You're welcome. I thought it would be better not to start out with vomit. So
thank you.
So instead, I ventured down a Reddit rabbit hole about cocktail hoarding to stick with the hoarding theme. Okay.
Is this a thing?
Yeah. So cocktail hoarding, it's basically where you buy a million ingredients for cocktails and then never finish them all and hoard them in your pantry.
What do you mean?
Like a drunkard little dragon. Yeah, that doesn't sound familiar.
Or like us.
Yeah.
Because my entire pantry, I have 2 full shelves of liquor.
Yeah. Because you've taken a single shot out of that.
Exactly. Exactly. And I swear it's we have 2 full shelves of liquor, and my husband and I will always look at each other hey, let's have a drink tonight. And then we almost never have a drink because there's nothing to make, because it's a sip of banana liqueur with, you can make half a cocktail with the Kahlua we have.
Yeah.
My entire pantry is enough to make half of a drink with.
Yeah. It's perfect.
That's hilarious. Okay, well, I'm a cocktail hoarder.
Yeah,
so I really appreciate this theme. Yeah.
And so on this Reddit feed, people chimed in with ways to use said ingredients, and it felt very communal and shockingly helpful for a Reddit post, if I'm going to be real honest.
It's a subreddit that's cocktail hoarding?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm about to join and start reading because I need that.
Yeah. I don't remember if the actual subreddit was cocktail hoarding or if it was a post on a different subreddit, but yeah, no, it was a whole thing, and the initial poster posted the ingredients that they had to use, and people were very, very kindly giving them drink recipes.
I love this. Okay, well, that is what I'm going to do the next time Alex and I look at each other with blank stares about what the heck we can make with the quarter of the cinnamon syrup that I have.
So on this whole Reddit rabbit hole, I found one drink that was recommended was the Big Apple Bourbon Smash.
Sounds awful.
Sounds horrid.
It sounds horrific.
Yes. It contains a shot of bourbon, an apple, obviously not the full apple, but part of an apple, lemon juice, cinnamon, and apple cider or apple juice if you don't have the cider. So for this recipe, you grab a bit of an apple and smash it into a cocktail shaker. You add the bourbon and cinnamon to taste and lemon juice, and then you shake it with ice. You pour it over more ice and top with the apple cider, and you garnish with another portion or slice of apple. Okay, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay, here we go.
Don't cry.
Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
Cheers.
Mm.
It's really good. It's really refreshing. Either I put too much apple cider in or the sparkling apple cider just kind of overpowers it. I genuinely don't even taste bourbon in it.
I really taste the bourbon.
That's funny.
I used bullet bourbon.
And mine is technically whiskey.
Oh, that's fine.
From your wedding, I'm pretty sure.
No, you still have it.
Yes. Even the apple cider. We have a ton of your apple cider left too from the wedding.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
How funny. Rating?
My rating's like a 9.
Okay.
It's up there because it's delicious.
Yeah.
And it's our first one back in more than a year.
Yeah. I think mine is also a 9.
Yay.
Because this is, I mean, like you said, right up my alley. It's fall. It's kind of fall-y.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I like the fall vibes too. For those listening to the episode, this isn't going to be released until January. But right now we are a couple weeks, when we're recording, a couple weeks before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is like perfect fall season drink. I love it.
Okay.
Thank you for your selection of this one and not the other.
And thank you to Samantha again. Thanks, Samantha.
And thank you to Samantha. We should just do a sound bite. Thanks, Samantha.
Just keep playing it for every episode.
Yep. All right. So let's back it up to the late 1800s when these brothers were born. Because it is the late 1800s, does it come as any surprise to you that his parents were, dun dun dun, cousins?
No.
Of course they were. These cousins were pretty impressive in their own rights. Herman Collyer was a doctor, and his cousin/wife, Susie, was an opera singer. In 1880, they would give birth to their first child, a little girl that would tragically pass when she was only 4 months old. Just 1 year later, Homer would be born, and a few years after that, in 1885, Langley would be born. Money was tight initially as their dad was in medical school.
Okay, I was about to say doctor. Money was tight for the doctor.
I know. Money was tight. in the early days, they were pinching while he was in medical school. Yeah. But eventually, you'll see things are totally going to flip because eventually, as he's building up his practice, the family would move into a beautiful 3-story brownstone building. This house is no longer there, but I have a picture of what it looked like in 1947.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And the picture, I'm going to admit, the picture itself is not great because this is from later when all this chaos was ensuing. That's why there's ladders propped up against the side of the building. But just to give you an idea of like the building itself.
It's beautiful. It's a brownstone.
This is their house.
Wait, the whole building is their house?
The whole building is their house. It is a 3-story building and then that bottom row is like the basement.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's like quintessential New York brownstone too. It's
definitely
pretty cool.
Definitely. This family was for sure living well at this point. So well that both Homer and Langley were able to attend Columbia University, with Homer studying maritime law and Langley studying engineering and chemistry. Langley was also a very talented concert pianist.
Cool.
This is something that I really do want to hone in on because the narrative about these two men will eventually be that they were pretty weird, pretty, eccentric guys. But I also want to remind the audience that they were also really, really intelligent and really talented and really well connected. They could have been really, really successful. In 1919, the Collyer parents would split up. Dr. Collyer would move into a new home, but Homer and Langley, who were now in their like mid to late 30s, stayed back with their mom at the Fifth Avenue home. In 1923, their father would pass, and just a few years later, in 1929, their mother would also pass. This left Homer and Langley with not only the house on Fifth Avenue, but all of their parents' belongings, including belongings from their father's medical practice, which they kept stored at the home after his passing. And then in 1932, Homer, who was only about 50 years old at the time, suffered a horrific stroke. A stroke so horrific that it would cause him to develop blindness. to this point, Homer and Langley were still what you could call relatively normal people, other than not getting married or having kids or maybe living with their mom a little longer than was typical, particularly for the time. Homer and Langley had normal jobs and lived normal social lives. Homer was an attorney, Langley sold pianos. Nothing here is like too far outside of the ordinary.
Right.
But Homer's stroke would change everything. Following this life-changing event, Homer would quit his job and become rather secluded within the home. Not long after, Langley too would quit his job in order to take care of his brother full-time. Now, I would say that this sudden health crisis is what ultimately forced the brothers inside, causing them to lead this life of seclusion. Then I would be a liar, because it is worth noting that there is another reason for the sudden exit from social life, and that would be because of racism.
Uh-oh.
Would this really be the hashtag history podcast if we did not discuss racism in some form or fashion in the context of a historical event? I think not. So welcome to this week's segment of Racism in America, in which we will be looking specifically at Harlem, even more specifically, Harlem Renaissance. I know when I think of Harlem, and this is obviously with today's hindsight, it is synonymous with the Harlem Renaissance and really being the epicenter of so much Black history and culture. It was during this time period here, the time period in which the Collyer brothers were living in Harlem, that the Harlem Renaissance would take place. This Renaissance was a period in time in which Black artists were really thriving in Harlem, creating music and art that challenged social justice and the racism of the South that many of them had fled from. In addition to the arts, Harlem would also be the epicenter for many Black rights movements, such as the Black Panthers. And so it is absolutely true that Homer's stroke and sudden blindness and Langley's subsequent need to care for Homer in this state was a large part of what drove them inside, but also so was racism. The Collyer brothers were not entirely comfortable with the Harlem Renaissance and the Black movements that were occurring in the city, and they decided they much preferred to stay indoors.
Oh, poor babies.
I know, little poor guys. When asked point blank why the brothers stayed inside and away from the world, Langley responded, quote, "We don't want to be bothered," unquote.
I mean, I feel that.
I was just going to say that. To that end and that end alone, ditto.
Yeah, I get that.
Samesies. If I could stay indoors in a 3-story brownstone, right?
Yeah.
That works for me.
Okay.
What's so interesting coming from sons of a doctor is that they refused to seek actual professional medical treatment for any of Homer's ailments.
Interesting.
Instead, Langley, who did virtually everything for his brother, all the way down to feeding and bathing him, had his brother on a very particular diet of, get ready for this, none of which you can eat.
Yeah,
literally. Get ready for this.
Literally.
That was not a joke. That was not a joke. He ate black bread, peanut butter.
Can't eat that.
And 100 oranges a week.
Definitely can't eat that.
You definitely can't eat that. For anyone that is unaware, Leah is breastfeeding right now and is on a very restrictive diet.
Literally.
For her breastfeeding. Very restrictive.
Literally, I eat chicken and rice every day. That's my diet.
And non-exaggeration.
Yeah, no, that's for dinner every day, and lunch, and then breakfast we get.
Sometimes she puts salt on the chicken.
Ooh, some different spices. Sometimes it's Chipotle chicken. Sometimes it's Cajun chicken.
The laughing is to hide from the crying.
Yeah.
So this is the exact opposite of what you, literally the exact opposite of what you are able to eat right now is what Langley had his brother Homer eating.
Now, all jokes aside, I have to wonder, there's always a root cause for why people have like mental health reactions. There's almost always a cause, and I have to wonder, if there was something about their dad or how he treated them or something that caused them to not trust medical advice.
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I'll speak a tiny bit to their possible motive for not trusting professional medical practices. But I do think the fact that they don't when their dad was a doctor is kind of telling.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's crazy, right? Black bread, peanut butter, and 100 oranges a week.
Did they keep tally? Like, how did this happen?
They did keep tally because it was very of the belief that, because, I mean, we all know that oranges contain vitamin C and flavonoids, which are linked to...
Bless you.
Flavonoids. Ooh, excuse me. Flavonoids, which are linked to helping, possibly helping eyesight issues.
Right. Yeah.
But 100 oranges a week? I don't even want to know what this man's insides must have felt like.
Oh, God, yeah. That's a lot of acid.
It's a lot of acid. But these brothers felt that they knew better than any medical professional, stating that they simply did not trust doctors. Langley said of this, quote, "We have a medical library of 15,000 books in the house. You see, we knew too much about medicine," quote. Mm-hmm. Given that the two men were virtually stuck inside this house without jobs at this point, they lost any source of income and really began scrounging to make ends meet. At one point, Langley started inventing various gadgets just to keep the house running. One of these inventions was using an old Ford Model T as a generator when the city shut off their utilities for not paying them.
Well, that's ingenuitive.
Say that, pretty inventive. That is kind of impressive. But also, my God, the telephone would also be shut off after not paying the bill. I mean, they stooped low enough to using pumps at parks to gather water.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is sad. He would leave the house after midnight to scrounge through garbage cans, sometimes walking a 3-hour distance just to find enough food to bring back home to his brother.
He had to pick a lot of oranges.
Like, where were the oranges? I mean, just like grabbing them off of trees, which is why he had to walk for 3 hours at a time.
Exactly. And how did he carry them?
That is the question. That is the question. While on these midnight trips, Langley could never stop his hoarding habits from picking up other various items along the way. This would include things like empty bottles and cans, books, clothes, bikes, and even baby carriages. Now we have discovered where the oranges went.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Another thing Langley specifically picked up regularly were newspapers, of which he said, quote, "I am saving newspapers for Homer so that when he regains his sight, he can catch up on the news," unquote.
Okay, so I know medicine wasn't what it was today, but I'm pretty sure one of those 15,000 medical journals probably said something about the fact that his eyesight wasn't coming back.
Yeah, it's gone. It is. That sounded really callous of me to say, and I don't mean that. I'm actually like a really empathetic person. I'm sorry that he lost his eyesight, but like,
yeah,
at a certain point, like, eyesight is gone.
Yeah.
The 100 oranges are not helping.
Yeah.
And also, to be fair, a newspaper from 12 years ago, I don't want to read it. I don't actually care.
My God. Yeah. There's also a part of me that has to wonder, like, because Homer was so dependent on Langley, like, how much... that can't be a healthy relationship.
No, I think about that a lot, too. I mean, he was dependent upon him for everything.
Yeah.
He like scrounged for food. He made the food. He brought him the food. He cleaned him up afterwards. He gave him baths. He only left the house after his brother was asleep at night.
Yeah, and like how much of this behavior or the lifestyle that he was living was really his choice, Homer's, or how much of it was kind of just forced upon him because of his circumstances and because his brother was... Oh, I know.
That makes me sad. Yeah, you're right. Like, how much of this is because he was so dependent? Was he didn't have flexibility to impose, like, hey, maybe I want to live a little differently.
Maybe I don't need 100 oranges.
Maybe we could throw like a lemon in there every now and then or something.
An apple.
An apple. Bananas?
Bananas.
They're good for potassium. Now, this interesting lifestyle would catch the attention of locals and the media, with the New York Times even covering the story. In this article, they would state that the brothers had accumulated a significant amount of wealth within the home. This story would lead to a number of attempted burglaries by locals. In response to this, Langley would create booby traps throughout the chaos of the house. In the case where someone may actually break into the home, it was entirely possible that they may trip a wire while roaming the place, obviously not being able to see the wire because it was so covered in so much stuff, and all of it would come crashing down on top of them.
Yeah.
So I think this is as good a time as any to look at some pictures of the inside of the house to really get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So Leah, I've pulled together a handful of pictures for you to look at. Certainly, I am not expecting you to describe each one of them in lengthy detail, although if you would like to read the titles of all 15,000 medical books, you're welcome to.
Okay.
We just may be here a long time.
Right.
But this is just to give our audience an idea of what we're looking at here. And for our listening audience, if you too would like to see these pictures, which trust me, you're going to want to have a visual as you're listening to this story. They will all be posted on our Instagram the date that this episode is released. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's check them out.
Okay, so number one is these must be all those medical journals because there's a ginormous bookshelf stuffed to the brim. This is Rachel's dream, except instead true crime dramas or historical nonfiction books instead of medical journals.
I appreciate you so much because I'm I'm so awful. When I pulled this picture, I was like,
you're like, oh,
looks nice. It's like, what's wrong?
Oh my
Fruit,
God, yeah.
facts. Because this is similar to what my bookcase looks like, where not only are the books like lined up vertically, of course, but there's like books
you gotta
horizontally
on top.
And yes, that is what my bookcases look like.
Sometimes if it's deep enough, you got to put a row behind.
We have those as well. We have layers. Yes.
Girl, I know you.
I know. Obviously. You knew when I looked at this picture, I was like,
oh.
It's the girl with the kombucha, the meme. She's like, Yeah.
Yeah, but then you can also see like those newspapers that he like just stacks and stacks of newspapers. It looks like piles of trash in front of the bookcase. So they're clearly not actually going and reading those medical journals because they can't get to them. Oh, no. Okay, I'm on number 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't even know how to describe this, but it's what looks like a beautiful home, what once was a beautiful chandelier or something over a pile of trash. And the walls and the wallpaper looks like it's like crumbling.
Yeah.
It looks really bad shape.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good thing to note is like not only this house filled with trash, but the actual home is falling apart.
Yeah. This might be a good time to mention that I used to be obsessed with the show Hoarders.
I did know that about you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that why? Yeah.
That's part of why this was not a hasty history episode. Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, it's really sad to see like beautiful homes that because of these people's mental illness and just the decisions they make and their actions that sometimes are out of their control, it just lead to like literally the destruction of what they consider their safe space. It's a really sad. It is really sad.
It's because to your point, like it is a mental illness where it becomes overwhelming, and where when you see a room that looks like this, you don't know where to start. Even if you have the desire, the motivation doesn't follow because where do you start?
Yeah. This reminds me of we have a storage room for my work. We plan events, and while I was on maternity leave, the storage room kind of
exploded.
They clearly just threw stuff in there and did not put them back where they belong. Not that it was ever in great shape. It was,
organized mess.
Right. It was an organized mess. I knew where things were. I went there and now I've been taking at least 2 to 3 hours a week to try to just slowly clean and organize it. And this reminds me a lot of it. So trauma, I'm feeling a lot of trauma from these pictures.
You're feeling very triggered right now.
Triggered. Okay. Picture number 3. It's more of the same. You can tell the ceiling seems to be kind of like peeling or like caving in a little bit. And it's just a pile of newspapers, cardboard boxes, just trash.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something, again, we can lean into your professional experience having watched several Hoarders episodes.
My professional
opinion. Yes. But like a lot of stuff that gets hoarded is not books and collective items. It is
trash,
bottle caps.
Yeah.
It's water containers. It's trash. And it speaks to the mental illness of like not being able to decipher and determine like what is of value and what's not. And then when you've gotten in so deep, it's too overwhelming to try to make those decisions without some professional help.
Yeah. And even with professional help, like the whole Hoarders episodes, it's like, it's not just showing these people's houses and the sad, state of their lives or what they live in. It's also talking about their mental health and what caused what caused that. And a lot of the times it's like, even with professional help, it's near impossible. And sometimes I remember there were episodes where they even like 6 months later went back and it was kind of starting to accumulate again.
Of course, because it's not a one-time fixes-all issue. You can go in and clean a hoarder's home and try to give them tools, but it's a mental illness that doesn't go away in a day. The brothers were so private that one time when Langley spotted people trying to see into their house from the house next door, he actually bought the house next door so that no one could ever peep through it again.
I thought they were having money issues, though.
We'll get there. Okay. Despite being so private, the brothers made the news a handful of times. We've already mentioned the time that they made an appearance in the New York Times, which brought a lot of publicity and attention to their lifestyle in their home. But they would make a few more appearances in the news, most of which were the result of like officials intervening due to late payments and other various complaints.
Oh, gosh.
One example of this occurred in 1939 when employees from Consolidated Edison, a well-known energy company, attempted to remove 2 gas meters from the home, gas meters that had been shut off more than a decade prior.
Oh, so they had no gas.
They had no gas. They were using...
So that means no cooking, no...
They were using... I'm forgetting now. What was it? It's not in my notes. I'm forgetting now. But it was something that Langley had MacGyvered as a heat source in the home. But yeah, no like actual central heating.
Right.
This would become a huge media spectacle, drawing in a large crowd, as both of the brothers, actually Homer, of whom had not been seen out in public for a while, both stood outside the home and fought with the employees of this energy company. A few years later, in 1942, the brothers would make media attention again when the bank threatened to evict them for having not paid their mortgage in 3 years. The bank would begin the eviction process, but were met with resistance, of course, from the brothers. And because of this resistance, the police were called. And when they broke into the home, they were met with like a tunnel that was surrounded by junk. It was a tunnel that Langley had created, and not creepy at all. When they open the door, they see the tunnel. Langley, I can't even imagine. I wish you guys could have seen Leah's face.
Just like,
scary.
Here's the check.
But essentially, that's what happens. Langley is standing in this man-made junk tunnel, and in his hand is a check for $6,700, the equivalent of more than $100,000 in today's money. This singular check would pay off the entire mortgage. It would pay the mortgage in full, and so that was enough to get the police to go away.
Okay, so there's clearly money.
Let's say, how do the rich stay rich? Because they're cheap. So, as we've already said a number of times, this is honestly, like, empathetically, it's a really sad life.
Yeah.
This home became so overrun with junk that brothers didn't even have rooms or beds to sleep in anymore. Rather, they slept in what was described as nests that had been created amongst the debris.
Yeah, you see that all the time on Hoarders. It's really sad.
Yeah, you can't access the beds anymore. You can't open the doors to the rooms.
Yeah. Oh my God, sorry. You know what I just thought about?
Tell me.
Cockroaches are already so bad in New York.
Oh, God, I didn't even think about the cockroaches. We will be discussing rats shortly.
Okay, great. Thanks.
But yeah, I did not even think of cockroaches. But also think, like, there isn't internal plumbing either.
Where is their duty going?
Fortunately, in my research, I did not come across that information. That is one that is going to be left up to our imaginations.
Okay.
I really appreciate that you brought up Homer and like how Homer must be feeling throughout all of this. My mind kind of went more towards Langley and how he might have been feeling, because up to this point he had been the more social between the two. He was a piano dealer and, you know, like I said earlier, a really talented pianist himself. But now he was essentially locked up in this home that was so overrun with junk that they couldn't even access the front door.
Yeah.
He spent his days creating pathways throughout the home, tinkering with his inventions and creating booby traps and caring for his brother's every need. And then he spent his nights all alone, walking hours throughout the city. So it's right around this time on March 21st, 1947, that an anonymous caller who identified himself as Charles Smith called the local. I know. It's like, wow, original. Didn't go with John Smith. I guess it is a little creative.
Yeah.
Charles Smith, he calls the local police precinct and told them that he could smell what he believed to be the decomposition of a body emanating from the Collyer home.
Does one know what that smells like? Like, just...
I was really going to say that.
I mean, I could be like, there's a stank coming. Maybe it's a dead body, but I would never be like, ooh, it smells like a decomposition. That's what it smells like to me.
Not to derail things completely, but I always think that with the Casey Anthony case where her mom opens up the trunk and says it smells like there's been a dead body in the car. I'm like, but how do you know that?
Why would you know that?
Why would you know that? But I would say in the case of the Collyers, I am confident that their house stunk. And like police, it was not outside the ordinary for cops to be called regularly about this home. And so maybe they're like, it's different than the normal funk.
Right.
There's a funk and then there's a funk. And this one's the latter.
Yeah.
So, like I just said, receiving a call from frustrated neighbors about the Collyer home was certainly not outside of the ordinary for this local precinct. But a call about a dead body, that's a different level. The police arrived at the now infamous home, but given how barricaded the house was, they had difficulty gaining access. As you'll recall, the brothers were very paranoid about people breaking into the home and had therefore locked every door, boarded every window, and had even placed iron bars across other windows and entrances. Eventually, they were able to gain access, but that meant nothing because once they did find an entry point, they were, of course, met with so much junk that they still could not get inside. So I've uploaded another picture for us to view here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So they're climbing a ladder to get in onto the second story because is that the only way they can get in? Yeah.
So this is a picture of the police using a ladder to enter the home through a second story window, and they were throwing just like massive piles of junk out the window onto the ground in order to get inside. After 5 hours of searching, police finally located Homer Collyer's body, clothed in a bathrobe, sitting in a chair with his head resting on his knees. The coroner would determine that Homer had died from a combination of starvation and heart disease and had been dead for approximately 10 hours already when he was found.
Oh, no.
Yeah. This is all odd enough, but what was perhaps even more odd was that Langley was nowhere to be found. Langley, who was fiercely protective of his big brother, who never left his side, with the exception of those midnight strolls, and was his primary caregiver, was missing. Perhaps even stranger, when a funeral was held for Homer roughly a week and a half later, Langley never showed up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Police posted outside the Collyer home waiting for Langley to pop up, but he never did. And this is when the rumor mill really started churning. How could Homer have starved to death when his brother was so meticulous about caring for him? How had Homer been left alone to die when his brother was so watchful and protective of him? Unless, of course, he wasn't. With no other information to go off of, police began to suspect the anonymous Charles Smith caller had perhaps been Langley, after all. That Langley, feeling a sense of guilt for leaving his brother to die, had decided to call the cops and tip them off before dashing out of town. There were reported sightings of Langley hopping on a bus headed out for Atlantic City right around the time of his brother's disappearance. There were so many reported sightings of Langley, in fact, that the police would end up traveling to a total of 9 states in an attempt to locate him. But all of their searches turned up futile. Back in Harlem, workmen were continuing to remove junk from the Collyer home. They would do this for weeks, with crowds as large as 2,000 people standing outside the home and watching all of the junk come out of this house. The quote-unquote treasures to pull from this home were far beyond what anyone could have even imagined. In addition to the unreal amount of newspapers and empty jars and bottles and whatnot, police also pulled out an x-ray machine.
What?
Yeah, you don't have an x-ray machine in your home?
Oh my gosh.
That's how I always check my ailments. Like, ooh, my hip is hurting.
Better check it on the x-ray machine.
Better check that out. Between the 15,000 medical journals and the x-ray machine, I am good. Haven't seen a doctor in years.
Why would you need to? You have an x-ray machine.
Obviously. But of course, in addition to this x-ray machine, guns, the top of a horse-drawn carriage. Okay. More than 25,000 books in total. So not all of them are medical books.
Right. We have 10,000 other books too.
Yes. 14 pianos. Pianos plural.
Grand pianos or
To be fair, even if they're uprights,
still a lot.
Most homes cannot even fit one of these in them, okay?
Right. Okay.
There's camera equipment, there's old bed springs, there's banjos and violins, there's jars filled with human organs that they had taken from their father's medical practice.
Mm-hmm.
And they even found 8, fortunately alive, cats.
Oh, that's surprising. I would think there would be a lot of deceased ones.
And perhaps there were.
Yeah.
This is just the short list of things discovered within the home. The actual list is a mile long. That's not a joke, it is. The amount of junk removed from the home would weigh 120 tons. That is more than a blue whale weighs. That is more than the Statue of Liberty weighs, minus the base.
I love that qualifier. Yes.
Yeah, of course, because the base is very heavy.
It's interesting that, obviously we saw in the pictures that the home was not in good condition, but it's interesting with that much weight in that home that it was even still standing, to be quite frank.
That's what I think with the pianos, because I know, so I have an upright piano, and since I got the upright, I've moved the piano twice. And we always have to get professional movers for it. Yeah. Number one, because it's a piano and it's delicate and you don't want to mess with the strings or whatever. But also, it's not physical. Like, Alex and I, my husband and I, have tried to even just shift it on the wall. Like, let's move it over an inch. We can't. It is so heavy. Yeah. We actually can't. The only time that we've moved it ourselves, and it wasn't a long distance, it literally was moving it closer to the wall than where the movers had placed it. We had the help of 2 other guys helping us move it. It took 4 people to move this piano.
Wow.
Another interesting find discovered near Homer's body were 34 checkbooks belonging to 34 different bank accounts.
That's confusing.
I know, it's so confusing. I can't even remember my one.
Yeah.
The cumulative total across all of these bank accounts came out to a little over $40,000 in today's money.
Okay.
3 weeks into this exhaustive cleanup, on April 9th, a workman would turn up something that no one was expecting. He would find the dead body of Langley Collyer.
3 weeks later?
3 weeks. 3 weeks later. Yes.
3 weeks later. What?
Unbelievably, given the fact that there had been people in and out of this house day in and day out, the mess was so intense that it would take them 3 weeks to discover Langley's body that was only a mere 10 feet from where Homer's body had been found this weeks before.
It must have been buried under stuff.
It was buried.
Oh.
Now, in hindsight, this makes perfect sense. You and I know, as avid true crime consumers, that it generally takes a few days, at a minimum 24 hours, for a decomposing body to start smelling.
Yeah.
So the fact that an anonymous caller said that they could smell a body when Homer had only been dead for, less than 10 hours at that point.
Yeah, that didn't add up.
No, it didn't add up. It's highly unlikely. Had there not been so much suspicion surrounding Langley's possible involvement, perhaps the police would have always known that when they went into this house, they were not searching for just one body, but 2. When the coroner examined Langley's body, he actually placed the date of his death as around March 9th, nearly a full 2 weeks before his brother Homer would die.
Oh no, and then his brother starved to
Exactly.
death. That's really sad. I'm actually really sad.
It's a horribly tragic story. Based on the position in which Langley's body was found, crushed by newspapers, bread boxes, a suitcase, and eaten by rats, it was determined that Langley had most likely been bringing his brother food when he tripped one of his very own booby traps, causing the surrounding junk to cave in around him. It was Langley's body that the anonymous caller had smelled 2 weeks after he had passed, and Homer, entirely dependent upon his brother for care, given the fact that he was both blind and oftentimes paralyzed, was left to wither away and starve in a very sad and slow death, only 10 feet away from his brother.
Oh my God, that's really upsetting and sad.
It's a really, really awful story. It starts out kind of interesting, eccentric, and then it takes a really fast, tragic spin.
Yeah.
After 3 months, everything would officially be removed from the home. Of the salvageable items, they reached about $2,000 in value in today's money. But as for the estate, it was valued at about $1.4 million in today's money, which would eventually be split across 23 verified first and second cousins of the Collyer brothers.
Were they married? Sorry.
To each other? Yes. As for the brothers, they would be buried next to their parents in unmarked graves in a cemetery in Brooklyn. Due to the condition of the home, like you've already mentioned from many of the pictures, the roof was caving in. There was mold everywhere. The city would condemn the property and deem it a hazard. In July of 1947, the 3-story building would be razed. Today, this picture here is what the location of the house now looks like.
Oh, it's like a park or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I have 2 pictures that I'll upload to Instagram for you all to see. One is kind of outside and one's inside.
Yeah, I see. So it's like a little garden or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the space has now been converted into a little pocket park called the Collyer Brothers Park. So for those that aren't familiar with pocket parks, you see these types of parks in more urban areas, definitely in places like New York. And they are essentially what they sound like. They're very small outdoor spaces, usually surrounded by commercial buildings or homes. And the way that the city really markets them is just a small place that's meant to encourage people to take a break, hang out, relax for a bit.
Take their dog out to shit.
Actually, exactly. That is oftentimes what they're used for, is to take your dog out, let them take a shit, sniff some leaves. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Collyer brothers have definitely become more than a local legend. They have inspired several books and shows and have served as a reminder to children to clean their rooms, or they will turn into, as some New York mothers say, quote, a regular Collyer brother, quote. I like how the Parks Commissioner, Adrian Benepe, said of the Collyer brothers in 2002, quote, sometimes history is written by accident. So there are some historic names that are not necessarily celebrated. Not all history is pretty, and many New York children were admonished by their parents to clean their room, or else you'll end up like the Collyer brothers, unquote. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Hashtag History.
We will share the pictures that we discussed on the episode to our Instagram. You guys have to check them out.
You have to.
Yeah. And all sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at hashtaghistory-pod.com.
A special thank you to my husband, Alex, for editing the podcast. You are the best. Thank you.
Best. Yes.
The best. Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use. Share about us with your family and friends. And we would love it so much if you give us a rate and review. I recently learned on Spotify that you can also leave comments on particular episodes. So do that. We would love to see that. And there's a way on Spotify for us to respond to those comments. So that would be awesome.
Sweet. Yeah. Be sure to also check us out on Instagram at #history_podcast.
And come join us over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. This is really a place where you can just support the podcast. And in exchange for your support, you will receive an automatic 15% off all merchandise. And we mail you cards and stickers.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.